Hey Changemaker, I'm so glad you're here. For this episode of Some Encouraging Words, I'd like to talk about how we can create change in our lives by paying attention to what we think and seeing things in a different way. So I'm going to talk about how to create change, talk about visualization, and how the brain works. So the way that we create change in our lives is starting to pay attention to the things we think about. When we think about what we think about, that sounds a little crazy, I know, but it begins to let us see what we're thinking. Our brains have about 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. You can Google it. And we have a tendency to not really pay attention to that constant reel that's playing in our minds. So what we end up doing is thinking so much of what's going on is out there somewhere, but not so much in here. So I would like to encourage you to begin to think about what thoughts are going through your mind. I know that for a while I would go into like a parking lot and my thoughts were, oh my God, there's never a parking place up front. I'm always parking in the back. It's such a long walk. It's hot. It's rainy. It's cold, whatever. And it was just really like a constant complaining in my mind. And so by thinking about what I think about or paying attention to what I think about, I began noticing this pattern that I did this thing, which I didn't realize I was doing. And sure enough, I started, I guess, faking it at first. Like, I'm going to get a close up parking spot. And yeah, it didn't work real well at first. But then I began visualizing this. I know it sounds like hocus pocus, but work with me here for a second. So, the second thing we're talking about is visualization. So, how about if you've had this actually happen to you before? Maybe you think about something you did in high school, like running faster than you thought you could, or beating somebody at, I don't know, some sport. Or maybe you thought about seeing yourself as someone who plays a particular instrument on stage, getting along with somebody that you were fighting with. You pictured this, you really wanted it to happen, and somehow it did. Now, that somehow it did is magic that isn't really magic, but it's the magic of how our universe is. So, what I'd like to do is the third thing, talk about how the brain works, and that is there's a part of our brain called the Reticular Activating System. If you want to Google that, you can. It's RE, Reticular Activating System. It's a little portion of the brain in the back. It's about the size of your pinky finger, right? 2 inches, 3 inches, whatever. It's a bundle of nerves, and it absorbs all the stimuli that you are engaged in at every moment of every day. The interesting thing is we could be bombarded with about 2 million bits of information per second, and the reticular activating system, or the RAS, will only allow in 100 bits per second. That's not much. So what is it letting in? Well, it's letting in things that it's determined are important, like your name, if there's a danger, oh my God, there's glass, be careful, things like that. But what else? I mean, that's 3 little things. What else? It lets in what you think is important, what you focus on, what you pay attention to. And it doesn't know if what you're paying attention to is positive or negative or anywhere in between. All it knows is if you're paying attention to it, it's important. I got to let this in. So it's like a gatekeeper. So if you start changing what you start focusing on, you start visualizing a new something, you're going to begin slowly but surely to see evidence of this occurring. So I want to do a little activity real quick with you so you can see what I'm talking about with the reticular activating system and how it works, and how you may begin to see things a little bit differently. Okay, so work with me here for a second. Sitting where you are, looking around wherever you are, I'm going to put just a few seconds on my imaginary clock right here, and I'm going to ask you, scan around and look for everything you see as red and start counting. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, stop. You got your number? Okay. So whatever that number is, doesn't matter. It's not right, wrong, good, or bad. Remember, it's loving, compassionate, not judgmental. I want to know, and don't look, just look at me. How many things did you see that were blue? Okay, don't look yet, okay? So we're gonna look at that, and I'm gonna put my imaginary clock on here, and I want you to count those things. I know I said red, now I'm saying blue. Again, work with me so I can explain what's happening. So look around for everything blue, get your number. You ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, stop. You got your number? How many yellow things did you see? Now don't get mad at me. Hear me out. Let's pretend for a second that red things are negative things, blue things are positive things, and yellow things are opportunities. Now we walk around in life a lot of times looking at something specific. Today we'll say the red things, the negative things. We're frustrated with this, we're irritated with that. This person continues to do the same thing over and over. We see these things constantly and they're so irritating. But I want you to understand that when we look for the red things or look at the red things, whether we realize we're doing it or not, the red things are going to show up. Those are important because we're paying attention to them. The RAS, Reticular Activating System, is letting those red things in over and over and over because that's what's important to us. However, if you take a look around and do it right now, you're going to see the blue things and the yellow things are also there. But the reticular activating system doesn't let them in. Why? Because we're not paying attention to them. We're not focusing on them. We're focusing on the red things. When we focus on something, that's what it lets in. So our brain works perfectly, but we don't necessarily have all the information to help our brain work optimally. So now you've got clues, and the clues are pay attention to what you're thinking about, realize that maybe there's more out there than what you're paying attention to, like the blue things, which are positive things, and the yellow things, which are opportunities. There's more of those out there. Look for those. Start making those the important things. And in a loving, compassionate, non-judgmental way, you'll begin to shift what you see, how you see it, what your brain's picking up, and you will begin to slowly shift your life to move into the direction that you want. I'm Debbie Pearson, and I hope that you enjoyed this section, this session, this episode. I'm new to this. I'm not sure what I'm calling it yet, on how to create change in your life. You guys have a great day, or create it. Bye now.